So I have been talking about these accusations about Joe Biden, Tara Reade's accusation that in 1993, he pushed her up against a wall and digitally raped her. That's an accusation. There's corroborating evidence, people who say she told them about it at the time, people who come out, and none of the people are anonymous. They're actually coming out and giving their names, so that has some weight. But again, we don't know, and it's not, again, the story up till now is not about the charges. It's not about Biden. It's about the press. It is about what we are learning about the press and what's being proved about the press, but it's also true about feminists, about activists, about female, activists for female liberty. I want to take you back in time to the Kavanaugh thing. Now, remember, the Kavanaugh accusations were completely uncorroborated. There's no proof that Christine Blasey Ford ever met Brett Kavanaugh. The people she said would back her up didn't back her up. Here is what happened to women here's what women did during the Kavanaugh hearings. We'll go first to that CNN clip. Yeah.
These are live images, folks, at the doors of the Supreme Court, where you can see protesters have gathered. They are demanding that their voices be heard.
This thing about voices being heard is a phrase that should be banned from the English language. What does it even mean? Does it mean, anybody's voice can be heard. You speak up, your voice will be heard. But these women hysterically banging on the Supreme Court doors because a woman made an unsubstantiated charge that was uncorroborated, okay? So a woman made a charge, and now they're banging on the Supreme Court doors. And let's not forget Jeff Flake. Remember Jeff Flake, who was going to speak truth to power and then vanished without a trace because he was constantly attacking Trump. He got on the elevator, and these activists crowded on the elevator with him. And this is the confrontation.
I was sexually assaulted, and nobody believed me. I didn't tell anyone, and you're telling all women that they don't matter, that they should just stay quiet, because if they tell you what happened to them, you're going to ignore them. That's what happened to me, and that's what you're telling all women in America, that they don't matter. They should just keep it to themselves, because if they have told the truth, you're just going to help that man to power anyway.
The tear-filled voice, I was assaulted, and nobody believes me, and now you're doing the same thing to Christine Blasey Ford. That logic, that amazing feminist logic that it happened to me, therefore everybody who is charged is guilty. We saw this in the press, and not just, but we're seeing it here from feminists. A long time ago, I was on Gretchen Carlson's show on Fox on a little panel, maybe three people, and I said out loud, why is the National Organization of Women a leftist organization? And they all jumped on me, including Gretchen. They all were like, what are you talking about? Well, it's a leftist. And I said, but why should an organization for women be leftist? Why should the assumption be that leftism and feminism are good for women? Why shouldn't you have an organization about women that explores what paths are best for most women? But now is a leftist organization. Feminism is a leftist cause, which assumes that leftism and feminism are good for women. I question that. I question whether leftism and feminism are good for women at all. Obviously, women's rights, absolutely good for women, good for America, good for everybody. But feminism itself, and now we see that performance, and that was an activist who wasn't just a random woman, that performance which caused Jeff Flake to cave in and delay Kavanaugh's confirmation. It caused Jeff Flake to cave in because he was confronted like that by a screaming, crying woman with those tears in her voice and all that emotionalism. That caused him to cave in. Now we see that. Where is it now? Where is that woman now? Why isn't she crowding into elevators? Why isn't she over at the New York Times confronting Dean Baquet, saying, what do you mean you're not covering it because you're not covering it? What does that mean? Why isn't she saying now, I was sexually assaulted and no one believed me, and now this woman is saying she was sexually assaulted and no one will even listen to her. No one will question. No one has asked Joe Biden the question. He gave, I think it was yesterday, he gave a women's town hall. No one asked him the question. So all of this activism is just leftism. It's all just leftism. I've been saying this for a long time. If it's not about race, it's about leftism. If the words come out of their mouth, this is racism, there's race of black people, the black people. it's leftism. It's not about black people, because the question is an open question, whether or not leftism is good for black people, whether or not feminism is good for actual women. Whenever I hear a woman say something and some feminist says, well, that sets feminism back 20 years, I think, who cares? Who cares whether it sets feminism back 20 years? What's it do for women? Okay. You know, Breitbart, the Breitbart site, a guy named Ezra Dulles there came up with this 2008 article from a very far left magazine by Alexander Cockburn, a very famous leftist writer. He was half brother to my friend Sarah Caldwell, the mystery writer, but he's the uncle of Olivia Wilde. The Cockburn family is a very left-wing, famous left-wing family. So this is what he wrote. He said, this is 2008, Biden is a notorious flapjaw. His vanity deludes him into believing that every word that drops from his mouth is minted in the golden currency of Pericles. Vanity is the most conspicuous characteristic of U.S. senators on block, nourished by deferential acolytes and often expressed in loudish sexual advances to staffers, interns, and the like. On more than one occasion, Counterpunch's editors have listened to vivid accounts by the recipient of just such advances. This staffer of another senator being accosted by Biden in the well of the Senate in the weeks immediately following his first wife's fatal car accident. A staffer being accosted by Biden in the weeks following his first wife's fatal car accident. You know, feminists, to me, are like a stereotype of women by men who don't like women. You know, I mean, men who don't like women become macho idiots. Men who don't like women ultimately only rely on masculine logic and they become macho idiots. Women who don't like men become hysterical, irrational female stereotypes. Feminists, I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It's so reliable that feminists are the first people to become irrational stereotypes of women. Women are not like that. Women, as in general, I mean, again, I've always said that the way women react to the world is so different from the way that I react to the world that I've had to pause and say, well, wait a minute, where is the wisdom in this? And then you find, oh yeah, there is wisdom in the womanly way of looking at the world. It is not my wisdom. We have to put those two kinds of viewpoints together to get a three-dimensional view of the world. Feminism has cut that view off by making men the enemy, and they have become stereotypes of themselves. Everything is tickety-boo, including the massive growth of the Daily Wire YouTube channel. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and catch all our future videos right here on YouTube.